Welcome to the MSU Deer Labs online seminar series brought to you by the Mississippi State University Extension Service and the Forest and Wildlife Research Center. My name is Bronson Strickland. I will be your presenter today, and I'm the St. John Family Professor of Wildlife Management and co-director of the MSU Deer Lab. So what is wrong with a lot of the antler restrictions, especially something like a single beam dimension, a single spread dimension, a single Boone and Crockett score? The problem that you're going to have no matter where you're at, again, this isn't a Mississippi problem, this is going to happen no matter where you are at, is you will see I have overlaid the 3.5-year-old buck distribution, 4.5-year-old buck distribution, 5.5-year-old buck distribution. I've put them all together, and what do you see? You see overlap. You see overlap for all three of those age classes in antler size. I have Boone and Crockett score displayed here. You're going to see the exact same thing though if we had beam length or spread or number of points or anything like that. So the point I want to make here is when you arbitrarily draw your line, right here, we're going to harvest all bucks, anything that's 120 inches or greater, you can harvest. Well, that's probably just fine for your 5.5-year-old deer. You've harvested some of the better deer in that age class. What have you also done? Take a look here. You've also taken the ones in blue here. You've taken those really, really high quality 3.5-year-old bucks and removed them from the population. So that is a big problem with antler restrictions. And again, just using an antler dimension to make a harvest decision and not coupling that information with age. That is a big mistake and will limit your progress. Okay, we've talked about what the bell curve is. Let's talk about how we can use it. And let's discuss a couple terms here. We're going to use these many times throughout the remainder of the presentation. The first is culling. What is culling? Do you have a working definition of that? Generally, culling would be removing the lesser quality, and in this case, animal. It could be, whatever entity you're measuring, but you're culling the lower quality object, in this case, individuals, out of the population. What is high grading? High grading, which is a forestry term, many of you have probably heard before. The way I like to say it is high grading is taking the best and leaving the rest. But high grading is kind of just the opposite. Again, in a timber management perspective, it will be going in and selecting the very best trees. So you're not harvesting all the trees, but you're harvesting the very best trees, and then you're leaving the lower quality ones standing to grow. So that's the difference between culling and high grading. So let's look at our distribution of 3.5-year-old bucks that we saw a moment ago. If you were to remove the bucks that you see there in the red box, if you were to harvest those bucks at 3.5 years of age, scoring 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, what have you done there? Is that culling or is that high grading? Well, in fact, that would be culling, because again, remember, we're removing the lesser quality individuals within that population. And how about for this example? So now we're removing all of the bucks that score 90 inches or greater out of the 3.5-year-old buck population. What is that? Is that culling or is that high grading? Well, of course, that's high grading. You have taken the best and you've left the rest. This is fundamental to understanding our buck harvest strategy. And we see this problem over and over again, is that when we reach the middle ages, specifically 3.5 years of age, that is when the better of that cohort, the cohort being that year class for that year, that 3.5-year-old bucks in the population that year, that cohort, you have taken the very, very best of that cohort and removed them. and allowed the lesser quality individuals to live that year and live most likely subsequent years. So if you agree that high grading can be detrimental to your buck population, how in the world does it happen in the first place? Why would we intentionally high grade our buck population? Well, it's a product of, I sound like a broken record here, but you have only used antlers, not age, to make a harvest decision. Typically, that is associated with a poor antler restriction. Again, that whole, we've drawn the line in the sand. A buck with 8 points or greater can be harvested. A buck that scores 120 inches or greater can be harvested. And as a consequence of that, you have harvested some of the highest quality middle-aged bucks and removed them from the population and allowed the lesser quality young bucks to grow older.